No one tells you that healing can often feel lonely, messy, and confusing. And I was sitting there thinking of what I picture in my mind when I think of healing as a drawing. And it reminds me of this doodle. I saw it floating around on Instagram some time ago. It's a messy doodle, it's all scribbled lines, it's all tangled, and these lines are all crisscrossing each other. And it says that healing is not linear. So we often hear healing described as a journey, and I've even used that word on my own channel. So it can lead to the expectation that healing itself is a linear journey. But I realize the truth is that there are moments when we have more clarity, but the bigger picture is not really linear. And that's something we don't talk about enough. So I wanted to talk about it today. So often people on their healing journey start by expecting a miracle cure or a straight path out of their pain. And I've been through this myself. But I think our real work is actually learning the skills to handle the ups and downs of our present life as they come. And that part is really hard. So we're trying to heal while we're trying to live, and that sort of adds that extra layer of challenge. When you've performed a role identity for a long time, stepping out of it can feel really overwhelming, and that's normal. Fitting into those role expectations, that was what you were meant to do in life, and once you step out of it, you may feel like you've entered an empty space. You don't really know who you are. And so, what do you fill yourself with now that your role isn't defined by others? This empty space itself can feel really overwhelming, and it can also feel lonely. The key thing is that it's not really a bad thing. Not everyone knows who they are when they're healing. Some people have more clarity, some people need more clarity, and others need less of that. And not everyone searches for clarity in the way that you might need to. So, either way, if you're feeling overwhelmed, I'd like to offer you a reframe that I also offer myself when I'm going through something similar. This empty space, let that be where you can start exploring your gifts. So, whatever you've been through is also what has shaped and is constantly shaping your unique gifts. And these are what I like to think of as the gifts you will use to discover not only yourself and who you are, but also how you can serve the world. And this can be your purpose at the moment, or this can be even your higher purpose. You tend to forget when you're healing that you have so much to offer, and through different circumstances, you've been forced to hide your light, but now you've been set free. So the question then is, how will you use your gifts? But I also add a little disclaimer here and ask all of us to be careful. The temptation to rush into something really big, something really grand, it's very strong. But it comes from your sense of responsibility and empathy. But if you're still recovering, if you're still healing and still discovering yourself and what your gifts are, then keep taking those small steps, and sometimes those are going to be enough. Just being there for yourself, finding clarity, pursuing a passion or a hobby, that's really all you need. You should always feel enough in who you are, regardless of how big or small your mission or vision. Because if you lean towards those perfectionist standards, you may think you need to do something really big. The challenge actually is learning how to protect your energy. You don't have to fight every battle, even if you feel it all very deeply. And that brings us to another often talked about topic on my channel, boundaries. So the concept of boundaries was something I often struggled with, especially because it was given as a kind of all-around advice. I realized I didn't fully understand what people meant when they said, boundaries. It felt kind of vague. Over time, I learned the reason I struggled was because I wasn't fully aware of my own needs and preferences. and I didn't know how to voice them. And it's hard to set boundaries if you don't know what you're protecting yourself from, if you don't really know your own preferences. But once you start to get to know yourself, you begin to see more clearly what gives you energy and what drains your energy. And sometimes it's just real physical energy that you need to protect, but it can also be your mental or emotional energy. So, for example, if some idea or task, it doesn't really spark something in me, should I do it? So I kind of think it through like this. Is it part of my work? If it's paperwork, which is completely draining, but I live in Germany and it's necessary. So I'm going to go and do it. But if it's someone I'm not fully comfortable with who's demanding my time, am I forced into it due to peer pressure? Do I actually want it? And then I kind of think of, shall I do it or not? So healing means learning to say, I matter too, that my needs matter too, and holding that line, especially when it feels uncomfortable. Sometimes we do things out of responsibility, out of being good community members, out of wanting to give back. But for highly empathic people, this can easily turn into a trap where you become an all around giver. Like I said, you can easily turn into an unconditional giver, and you may not even realize that you're drained until you look at your calendar and see that it's filled with things you've convinced yourself are necessary. But ask yourself this: is this part of your healing process, or is it you slipping back into the role you were forced to play? Do you really want to do this? And honestly, this isn't always easy to know. So many people who've been scapegoated or who've had a traumatic past heal by becoming helpers. But if you're not careful, you can lose yourself again. And as I learned also the hard way, giving should come from overflow and not from emptiness. And the most important part is that when you're healing, often success and acknowledgement, they need a reframe. I tend to ask whether it's something I really want to do or whether I'm chasing external validation from work or from a relationship, from family. I tend to be like more of a workaholic. Chasing validation actually burns you out, especially if you learn toward perfectionism. Especially if you lean toward perfectionism because you were taught that you weren't good enough. So, healing means shifting the definition of success from external approval to how you feel inside, internal alignment. Living a life that feels true to you, not one that proves your worth to people on the outside. I'd love for you to explore more here on my channel. I share new videos every week on healing and family dynamics and mindfulness, all the tools that can help us move forward from survival into living more fully. Until next time, thanks for being here.